Shalum, Shalum, and welcome. Welcome to the White Rose Family Channel. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah. If you're listening to this on End Time Lens, a podcast on Spotify, I play the audio version of these recordings on Spotify under End Time Lens, just to give you an update. As an audio podcast, the amount of space that it takes up if you want to download the recording, the audio, is much less and much quicker. With that said, my brothers and sisters, before I get into this segment, let me say this, that the views expressed in these messages do not necessarily reflect the views of the owners, managers, shareholders, and or sponsors of this media platform. With that said, let me begin by saying this, Yashar'al. In these end times, great corrections are coming. Corrections that will make some people feel dumbfounded or say, I should have knew that. Or they may realize that they have taken the wrong positions of belief and practices. Some great corrections are coming, my brothers and sisters. There are brothers and sisters who will be speaking erroneously and called wicked, that are our brothers and sisters because they are unlearned, undiscerning, or they just simply stumbled or was too eager or too anxious. I'm saying this to say this, brothers, and sisters, as corrections come, let us yield to the correction under the blood of the Lamb, Yahusha, and rise up strong, being renewed by the Spirit of the Almighty Father, sent to us in Yahusha's name as the comforter and the teacher. Let us not waste time trying to defend something that we come to agree was wrong. My brothers and sisters, with the great corrections that's coming, the quicker we get under the blood of the Lamb and yield to the correction, we can press on into what is correct and magnify what is set apart and righteous. So I say to you, my brothers and sisters, if I or anyone bring correction that you are compelled to believe is a correction, yield to it and rise up better than before. Don't beat up on yourself. Don't fall into depression. Don't try to justify it. Don't try to stir up minutes with excuses. Just yield to it, my brothers and sisters. Rise up in the spirit of correction. Let us know how to move forward. It is important, O Yashar'al. It is not about calling a brother or sister wicked. It is about pressing into what is right, what is correct. And sometimes it may be just that the person is unlearned, untaught, or was deceived by whomever was teaching that person such practices or belief. In this segment, I want to talk about time weapons. Time weapons. I could very well have named it time management, my brothers and sisters, but the reason why I wanted to say weapons is a strong message. You see, our goal, O Yashar'al, is to press into the mark of improved worship and obedience to the Almighty Father. And since that is our goal, it is important to understand the powers that we have to achieve such goal as an ongoing worship and obedience to the Almighty Father. Time weapons. Do you know, my brothers and sisters, that when we look at weapons, we look at it as something to defend ourselves or something to be used in an offense if we are pressing into it first. Time weapons. There are things we don't take under considerations. But let me read the word weapon, two different definitions, my brothers and sisters. Any instrument or device for use in attack or defense in combat, fighting, or war, as a sword, rifle, or cannon. Anything used against an opponent, adversary, or victim. In this case, time weapons, weapons of distraction, my brothers and sisters. End times will prove that as our days are shortened, as the scriptures speak of, as time move on quickly, we're going to begin to realize we don't have time to argue, debate, or try to hold on to erroneous practice or teachings. It's the season, my brothers and sisters, to become more precise and accurate in our interactions with one another, in our communications with one another. When the scriptures speak of judgment begins at the house of Yahuah, we must learn how to quickly yield to what that judgment is, what that discipline is. Revelation 3:19, I mention it often. It talks about Yahuah discipline those whom he loves. Consider these, my brothers and sisters. When making efforts to manage time, and if the goal is to win, and you're in a battle, if someone slows you down to where you can't make it to the finish line, so to speak, they use that distraction, that argument, that debate to cause you to miss the finish line or not be where you're supposed to be. As end times ramp up, we're going to find that there are places we're supposed to be, things we are supposed to be doing, end time tasks. Here are some things to consider when making efforts to manage your time. How we use technology, media, whether we use VR or AR, virtual reality or augmented reality usage, news and propaganda, looking back too much and too long, unfruitful teachings and preachings, and other major distractions. Let us begin to understand, my brothers and sisters, as end times ramp up, accuracy is important. Soon we will grow to know when a day begins and when it ends. Remember, Shabbat is one of the commandments. It is also mentioned in the 24th chapter of Matthew when it talks about our plight. Pray that it's not happening on Shabbat. Yashar'al, Yashar'al. Also Shabbat is part of a major thing that the Almighty Father wants us to be mindful of. So it is important that we know when a day begins and when a day ends. Belief. What shaped our belief? I had an individual tell me that darkness comes before light. And when I told him he was wrong and mistaken, him and another wanted to say that I was a silly Christian. Because I said, no, light comes before darkness. And he said I was just wrong. And nowhere in the scripture did it defend what I said. What I said is Yahuah is light. And Yahuah is the beginning and the end. It begins with light, it ends with light. So I shared with him the passage of scripture that talks about where Yahuah is the Alpha and Omega, the Aleph and the Tah, that he is light. And I shared with him in Revelation how there would be no need of the sun and the moon because we would have the brilliance, the light of the Almighty Father. You see, my brothers and sisters, when it comes to Shabbat, so many people look at it and say, okay, there was evening, there was morning and a day. But they forget who created evening, who created morning, who created the lights. It was no one other than the Father of lights, the Almighty Father Yahuah. But so many people are engrossed in thinking that darkness comes before light because of misteachings, misgivings, and it is like a big cancer among Yashar'al. But that soon will evaporate among those who truly seek to discern what is true, those who are disciplined and made correct to fulfill what is said by the Almighty Father. And belief plays a strong role in that. Do you know without belief it's impossible to please the Almighty Father? So let us learn how to examine, how to take on a position of belief and make sure we vetted it, examined it, and look towards the Almighty Father for clarity on understanding it. Otherwise, time weapons will beat up on us. Spending time arguing, spending time being distracted on other matters, trying to dismiss what needs to be discussed and adjusted. Let me read to you, my brothers and sisters, on the matter of belief. Let me read just a little bit of Hebrews 11, 1 through 3, and verse 6 of the 11th chapter of Hebrews. It reads as follows, my brother, my sister. And belief is the substance of what is expected, the proof of what is not seen. For by this the elders obtain witness. You see, my brothers and sisters, the Almighty Father draws us, but we must learn how to identify him. For there are so many that say, Yah told me this, or the Lord told me this, and he told me that, but they don't know how to vet, to examine whether that was indeed the voice of the Spirit of the Almighty Father. It's the substance of what's expected. So we must look at what is bringing the expectation. I submit to you, it is the Spirit of the Almighty Father. In some cases, if we're wrong, another spirit. It say the proof of what is not seen. It say by belief we understand that the ages were prepared by the word of Yahuah, so that what is seen was not made of what is visible. And then come with me to the 6th verse. It says here, but without belief it is impossible to please him, for he who comes to the Almighty One has to believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who earnestly seek him. Let me take you to discernment, my brothers and sisters. There's an academic definition of discernment, which is used loosely among brethren, because they think that is the ultimate discernment. The ultimate discernment is when the Spirit of Yahushua reveals, when he make known, when he fulfilled the words that he was quoted in the scriptures when he said, all things that are hidden shall be uncovered, shall be revealed. Discernment is knowing the thoughts of a person as Yahushua bring them to your mind. When I first experienced discernment, I thought all mature brothers and sisters could see as clearly as I did. I was naive. This was decades ago. And I used to test the Spirit to make sure it was indeed the Spirit of Yahuah. And I would speak boldly things that was revealed to me that had not been made visible yet. And in due season, I experienced people saying, how did you know? How were you able to see? I experienced people saying, you know, you're right. I even experienced people arguing, you don't know, this is me, you ain't in my shoes. Not realizing that the Spirit of Yahushua can reveal and make known. And in my growing and understanding discernment, my brothers and sisters, I learned not to be over anxious or overzealous, for the enemy can give you delusional thoughts. I learned how to measure the things that the Spirit of Yahushua revealed as it related to his word coming alive to confirm it was indeed the Spirit of Yahushua. And some of you might say, why are you saying the Spirit of Yahushua? The word of Yahuah came in Yahushua's name. Yahuah's word was manifest before us. The virgin birth, the sacrifice, the resurrection. And then if you read John 14:26, you'll see Yahuah sent his set-apart spirit in Yahushua's name. Why? Because Yahushua represents the word of Yahuah, our ability to communicate with the Almighty Father. Yahushua represents the sovereign word of Yahuah. Discernment. I learned that discernment, the first order of service with discernment, is intercessory prayer. If Yahushua reveals the thoughts of a person, pray for that individual or those individuals first, and then seek to discern what is the next order of service. What is the next thing that is necessary to do? Bear with me a second, my brothers and sisters. Come with me. Let me share with you some examples of what I'm talking about. In Proverbs 24th chapter, 12th verse, Proverbs 24:12 reads, if you say, see, we did not know, would not he who weighs the hearts discern it? He who watches over your life, would he not know? And shall he not repay man according to his work? And I submit to you, if the Almighty Father knows, is it possible we who are the vessels, or some will say the temple of the set apart Spirit of Yahuah, where our inward man, our spirit, joins with Yahuah by Yahusha, by his word, by reference to his word, would he not reveal it to us in our interactions with him? Now come with me to Hebrews 5, verse 12 to 14. More on the matter of discernment. It says, for indeed, although by this time you ought to be teachers, you need someone to teach you again the first elements of the words of Yahuah. And you have become such as need milk and not solid food. For everyone partaking of milk is inexperienced in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. But solid food is for the mature, whose senses have been trained by practice to discern both good and evil. Discern. To discern both good and evil means to understand and identify the voice of the Almighty Father, to make known what is necessary for us to navigate through these end times and more. Another important factor, my brothers and sisters, is wisdom. There are brothers and sisters that say, I'm going to give you these wise words and let me impart some wisdom on you. Wisdom stirs and lives. And I don't need to tell you if indeed I believe it's wisdom, that is my position. But it doesn't make any sense to another unless they can confirm and concur that they see wisdom. And is the wisdom mine? No, not at all. It is wisdom that is imparted to me by the power and might of the Almighty Father. Let us understand what wisdom is, my brothers and sisters. How it is important in these final days. How to identify those who demonstrate wisdom. Come with me, oh Yashar'al, my brother, my sister, my family. Hear these words from Proverbs 1, verses 1 through 7. Proverbs 1, verses 1 through 7. The Proverbs of Shalum, or some would say Solomon, son of David, sovereign of Yashar'al, for knowing wisdom and discipline, for understanding the words of understanding, for receiving the discipline of wisdom, righteousness, right ruling, and straightness, for giving insight to the simple, knowledge and discretion to the young. The wise one hears and increases learning, and the understanding one gets wise counsel. For understanding a proverb and a figure, the words of the wise and their riddles. The fear of Yahuah is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and discipline. Do we know how to embrace wisdom when it comes? Are we certain that we're going through the right protocols to understand and identify and not be puffed up? Let me also read Proverbs 2:6. For it reads, for Yahuah gives wisdom. Out of his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. And I say to you, Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, out of his mouth. And when he speaks, do he speak through us, to us, one towards another? Who then are those who are vessels of the Spirit of Yahuah? Who then are true shepherds? Servants, leaders, guides, counselors. Knowledge is important as well. I've seen people criticize knowledge, not being specific in saying the knowledge of man puffs up, but the knowledge that Yahuah gives to us strengthens us, gives us the fortitude to press into him stronger. Do not despise knowledge, my brothers and sisters. Just understand the knowledge from the Almighty Father versus the knowledge of man. Come with me as I read the following 3 verses. Yashar'al. So when people talk about knowledge or against knowledge, Ask them to be specific and qualify what they're talking about. Lest they find themselves bearing false witness against the obedient ones of Yahuah. Psalms 119:66 says, "Teach me good sense and knowledge, for I have trusted in your commands." This is David making a petition to the Almighty Father. Proverbs 1:7 says, "The fear of Yahuah is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and discipline." I just read that. Do not despise wisdom and discipline. For in the fear of Yahuah will come knowledge. Don't you want to know what's going on? What to expect in these final days? What tasks are presented to you by the Almighty Father? And what skill sets we must have to complete the task given to us? Proverbs 2:6 says, "For Yahuah gives wisdom. Out of his mouth come knowledge and understanding." My brothers and sisters, we will learn how to flow in the wisdom, the knowledge, the discernment that the Almighty Father gives us. And in doing so, time weapons, the weapons that try to distract us and stall and detour us from where we're supposed to be going, the weapons of distractions, we will learn how to use the weapons of righteousness to press forward with precision and accuracy. And in order to do that, it requires discipline. Many people look at discipline, my brothers and sisters, with disdain. But it makes you new. It revives us when we stumble and fall by the power and might of the word of the Almighty Father, the blood of the Lamb, his living spirit that goes before us, in us, and through us. Discipline, O Yashar'al. I talk about it because it is necessary for the coming together in this final Exodus, my brothers and sisters, for us to complete the task that I laid before us. And with that said, my brother, my sister, my family, hear me as I read Revelation 3:19. "As many as I love, I reprove and discipline, so be ardent and repent." Some of us will receive discipline and mistakenly it for an attack of the enemy. You see, the fruit of our rebellion will come to visit us because it is written in Scripture. We will reap what we sow. Least we understand the power of the blood of the Lamb, how we can find favor and press on in life to worship and obey him. Do not despise discipline, my brothers and sisters. Hebrews 12:5-7. Come with me there, my brothers, my sisters. It says here, "And you have forgotten the appeal which speaks to you as sons. My son, do not despise the discipline of Yahuah, nor faint when you are reproved by him. For whom Yahuah loves, he disciplines and flogs every son whom he receives. If you endure discipline, Yahuah is treating, the Almighty One is treating you as sons. For what son is there whom a father does not discipline?" Now I want you to drop down, read the entire chapter, my brothers and sisters, 12th chapter of Hebrews, but I want you to drop down to the 11th verse and know this before you fight against the discipline of the Almighty Father that may come through a brother or a sister. "And indeed, no discipline seemed pleasant at the time, but grievous. But afterwards it yields the peaceable fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it." Trained by it. Yashar'al, Yashar'al, the elements, the rudiments, the components of things, the parts of things we need to be strengthened to deal with time weapons are set before us in the words I speak, and even more than what I'm speaking to you, my brothers and sisters. End times are ramping up. In the midst of all the confusion, we will recognize these attributes as they rise up among those who will present themselves as obedient ones to the Almighty Father. So yes, obedience is another component. Obeying, obedience. There are brothers and sisters that look at that as the meaning. But obedience means getting it right, doing what is right, obeying what is presented before us from the Almighty Father, whether through a brother, a sister, a pastor, a bishop, a moray, a teacher, that is walking in obedience. There are brothers and sisters. There are many that are used by the Almighty Father to bring obedience. Consider Exodus 19, 5 and 6. It says, "And now, if you diligently obey my voice and shall guard my covenant, then you shall be my treasured possession above all the peoples, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be to me a reign of priests and a set-apart nation. Those are the words which you are to speak to the children of Yashar'al." This instruction was given to Moshe. A reign of priests and a set-apart nation, my brothers and sisters. You see, the ultimate priest is Yahusha, the word of Yahuah that was manifest before us. And if he works in us, and we are interdependent on one another by his spirit working in us one towards another, then we are indeed a reign of priests. Come with me as I go to 1 Samuel 15, 22 through 23. 22 and 23, my brothers and sisters. Hear these words. Yes, these words are important when it comes to tying weapons. Whether it be weapons of defense or offense, we must learn how to focus and what is important. When to yield, when to stand strong and be firm. Here we read in 1 Samuel 15, 22 and 23. Then Shalum said, "Does Yahuah delight in ascending offerings and slaughtering, as in obeying the voice of Yahuah? Look, to obey is better than a slaughtering, to heed is better than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of divination, and stubbornness is as wickedness and idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of Yahuah, he also does reject you as sovereign." Though these were literally words to the sovereign at that time, it also speaks to us. Obedience is better than sacrifice, for it's so much that comes from obedience. But sacrifice is something that is required. The ultimate sacrifice. If we're not willing to make the ultimate sacrifice before the Almighty Father Yahuah in Yahusha's name, in other words, acknowledging the blood of the Lamb, the birth, the sacrifice, the resurrection, where do you think that will take us, O Yashar'al? Look around. We're in disagreement. We are disjointed in so many ways because of our positions of belief based on us, how we conceive or perceive that relationship with the Almighty Father can make a big difference. But there's an ultimate sacrifice. Let me take you to Romans 12th chapter, my brothers and sisters. Romans 12, 1 through 5. Hear these words, my brothers and sisters. For when someone is trying to defend in their erroneous action, when someone is trying to hit you with excuses, when someone is trying to protect their ego, or as we said in the streets once upon a time, save face, opposed to making the sacrifice to yield to what is correct, pray for that individual. For if they fail to yield to correction, it may be best to leave them alone. Let them be. Purge them from among us. We must be willing to make that ultimate sacrifice. Hear these words in Romans 12, 1 through 5. I call upon you, therefore, brothers, through the compassion of the Almighty One, to present your bodies a living offering. Now, some translation will say sacrifice. Set apart, well-pleasing to the Almighty One, your reasonable worship. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you prove what is the good and well-pleasing and perfect desire of the Almighty One. See, many are transformed by conforming to this world, or saying the majority of people believe this, so they couldn't all get it wrong. I've heard that too many times. Not all these people for all these years got it wrong. When it comes to Shabbat, that's one. When it comes to zits and fringes, it's supposed to be a cord to hem your garment neatly, not phylacteries. But in vanity, it was exaggerated. Another story, another message, but the correction will come. Don't be conformed to the world. Look at He who renews your mind, bringing it into correction, making things straight, so that we can prove what is good and well-pleasing, perfect desire of the Almighty One. For I say, through the favor which has been given to me, to everyone who is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he should, but to think soberly, as the Almighty One has given to each a measure of belief. For as we have many members in one body, but all members do not have the same function, so we, the many, are one body in Messiah, and members each one of one another. Presenting our bodies a living offering before the Almighty Father. I say to you, Yashar'al, what is your position, my brother, my sister? Let us also strongly consider the armor that the Almighty Yahuah provides. You see, in these time weapons, we have armor. We have weapons, whether it be for offense or defense. Let's take a look at that armor that the Almighty Father has equipped us with. And some of us just may not understand the dynamics or how it's to be used. But trust and believe. We will learn the armor of Yahuah and how it is necessary for these final days. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, hear these words as I read Ephesians 6 chapter, verse 10 through 20, regarding the armor. The Almighty Father doesn't leave us out there without armor. We just must understand and seek to discern the life and the power that reinforces the armor that we have. It says here in the 6th chapter of Ephesians, verses 10 through 20, for the rest, my brothers, be strong in the Master and in the mightiness of his strength. Put on the complete armor of the Almighty One for you to have power to stand against the schemes of the devil. Because we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against authorities, against the world, rulers of darkness of this age, against spiritual matters of wickedness in heavenly places. You see, my brothers and sisters, though we may get into debates or argument, when we pause and seek the origin of such, then we will find ourselves with the ability to see whether it's against the enemy or yielding to obedience to the Almighty One. What is right? It says, because of this, take up the complete armor of the Almighty One so that you have power to withstand in the wicked day, and having done all to stand. I'm going to share with you, my brothers and sisters. Do you know that individually we can have the armor of Yahuah, but also collectively? In other words, as I read in Romans 12th chapter, different members have different strengths. I submit to you, coming together, the closer we come together, it's like piecing parts of armor together, where one lack, the other one is strong. Sure, we can be individually have on the armor of the Almighty Father and utilize it fully. But how much stronger will it be by coming closer together with one another? It says here, stand then, having girded your waist with truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness, having fitted your feet with the preparation of the good news of peace. Above all, having taken up the shield of belief, with which you shall have power to quench all the burning arrows of the wicked one. Can a brother or sister be holding the shield when another brother may not identify how that shield works? But being close together, protection comes. Take also the helmet of deliverance and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Yahuah. Could a brother or sister be more well-versed in the word of Yahuah than another? Praying at all times with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, watching in all perseverance and supplication for all the set-apart ones. Also for me, that a word might be given to me in the opening of my mouth, to be bold in making known the secret of the good news, for which I am an envoy in change, that in it I might speak boldly as I should speak. Shalum is quoted. It is important, Yashar'al, to understand that we have an armor, to understand the strength of that armor, its function, how it's refined and polished. It is important to learn how to examine all things in pursuit of set-apartness. Check, examine your armor and that of a brother or sister. I've shared this and I'll share it again, for it is appropriate for this message. Time weapons. Who grabs a weapon and do not examine it? Who grabs a weapon and don't take any consideration to how long it will last? Who grabs a weapon without the intent of that weapon enduring until its use has been expensed? Philippians 1:9-11 says, "And this I pray you, this I pray, that your love might extend more and more in knowledge and all discernment, for you to examine the matters that differ, in order to be sincere and not stumbling, until the day of Messiah, being filled with the fruit of righteousness through Yahushua Messiah, to the esteem and praise of the Almighty One." My brothers and sisters, we can talk about the armor, we can talk about weapons of mass distraction, timed weapons, offense or defense. We must, and it would be wise to identify to know which weapons work for what and when. I want us to keep this top of mind as end times ramp up. And I present the need to consider this passage prayerfully, O Yashar'al. Colossians 4:2-6, and I've used it in other videos and I will use it again. It is my belief, O Yashar'al, that any warning will continue to be repetitive until it's no longer needed. This is important in these final days. Colossians 4:2-6 says, "Continue in prayer, watching therein with thanksgiving, praying at the same time also for us, that the Almighty One would open to us a door for the word to speak the secret of Messiah, for which I am also in chain, so that I make it clear as I should speak. Walk in wisdom towards those who are outside, redeeming the time. Let your word always be with favor, seasoned with salt, so that you know how you ought to answer each one." Do you know salt draws out the flavor? When you have salt on your tongue, it draws out the flavor of the food that you eat. Let your words be seasoned with salt. Have the behaviors that draw out the flavors, the righteousness, the set-apart instructions, the behavior of the Almighty Father. How many of us can discern what this is saying and take into consideration we have a responsibility to be as the salt of the earth, drawing out what is good, drawing out every detail and process that is required from the Almighty Father? Beware, my brothers and sisters. There are those among us who disregard why we need the armor of Abba Yahuah. I say to you, We need that armor because there will be some division going on, some dividing, some separation, some repositioning that will occur. And as it occurs, my brothers and sisters, we must learn how to be strong. Know these words, for I've seen people talk about these final days and mention their family more than the family of Yashar'al. Hear these words, O Yashar'al, and take them serious. Matthew 10:34-42 reads, "Do not think that I've come to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to bring division, a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's enemy are those of his own household." It's not saying this will happen with everyone. This is where, if the shoe fit, be mindful that you were warned and that there are things to do. Don't be distracted and caught up by the family member who is not drawn by the Almighty Father. Don't be distracted by their weapons for you to stay close to them when we should be drawn close to the Almighty Father. It goes on to say, "He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me." You see, if we love Yahuah first, he gives us the identity, the perception, the understanding of what true love is and how to preserve its life, the life of love. And sometimes this requires cutting off, coming away, or purging. So we must love him more than anything. It says, "He who has found his life will lose it, shall lose it. And he that has lost his life for my sake shall find it. He who received you received me. He who received me receives him who sent me. He who receives a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward. And he who receives a righteous one in the name of a righteous one shall receive a righteous one's reward. And whoever gives one of these little ones a cup of cold water only in the name of a taught one, truly I say to you, he shall by no means lose his reward." My brothers and sisters, time weapons is the name of this segment. Weapons that are used to distract, or weapons that can be used for offense or defense. Let me read some conditions that are described in Matthew 24:3-12. And you answer these questions. Do you believe these conditions require us to have the full armor? And if we are lacking in one part of armor, should we be by a brother or sister who have that other part? We will discover in these final days, Yashar'al, we will begin to move closer to one another. Some into communities, some where communities as a whole will start moving. Yashar'al, set apart ones will begin to migrate closer to one another. And it will be like a small wheel moving inside a bigger wheel and a bigger wheel till we reach that ultimate destination, which is the true Mount Sinai region, where that mountain commonly and currently is known as Jabal al, situated in northwest quadrant of Saudi Arabia. Do not be deceived. But again, let me read about these conditions and think on the armor, my brothers and sisters. Here Yahushua is quoted. "And as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the taught ones came to him saying, 'Say to us, when shall this be, and what is the sign of your coming in the end of the age?' The author writes. And Yahushua answered, said to them, 'Take heed that no one leads you astray.'" You think you need armor to avoid being led astray? "For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and they shall lead many astray." This refers to people saying, "The Lord told me, Yahushua told me, the Ruach HaKodesh told me, Yah told me." Any representation saying that they were told to do this and it was not him can result of many being led astray, and it has, and it is. But don't forget the discipline of the Almighty Father. And I submit to you the armor of Yahuah helps us to get through and become more disciplined knowing how to wear that armor, how to use that armor. And you shall begin to hear of fightings and reports of fighting. You think you need armor during fighting? See that you are not troubled, for these have to take place, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and reign against reign, and there shall be scarcities of food and deadly diseases and earthquakes in places. And all these are the beginning of birth pains. Then they shall deliver you up to affliction and kill you, and you shall be hated by all nations for my name's sake. See, some of us will be killed for righteousness' sake, for Yahusha's name. Not all will be gathered from the four corners of the earth before the physical return of Yahusha. They shall deliver you up to affliction and kill you. Then many shall stumble, and they shall deliver up one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise up and lead many astray. And because of the increase of lawlessness, the love of many shall become cold. But he who shall have endured to the end shall be saved. Does this describe conditions that require, don't take the armor of Yahuwah for granted, my brothers and sisters? Beware of storytellers. These are those with compelling and distractive narratives. They are time wasters. People telling you about things that happened yesteryear and this happened this, and here's the truth about this. And yeah, there were aliens among us, and oh, hey, the earth is flat, no, it's round. People that want to get into discussions that are not fruitful. People who want to dig into all the genealogies. The scriptures say avoid genealogies and foolish questions. Sure, we must be mindful of our history as much as the Almighty Father would have it. But some spend too much time on so many different narratives. Some pursue history, my brothers and sisters, to a point till they get tired. When they get tired, then they take on a position of belief, and they haven't even fully examined the matter. They haven't even went far enough to discern what the matter is. Many of the narratives are out there in part because a person tired of digging and seeking or waiting or seeking to discern. Many cases it's people that have been blinded, made delusional because of unbelief, as the scriptures tell us could happen. Understand the narratives that's going forward and ask yourself, are these the words I need to be hearing to stay focused, to press forward, to press into obedience to the Almighty Father? Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, this is not a game. Things will get intense and the smiles will be wiped off the face of the folly, the foolish, the unwise. Storytellers are those who constantly come up with a new narrative. There are some storytellers out there that takes you away from all that is righteous. They want you to believe we don't know who we are. I've even seen a brother spend more time talking about something that is a major distraction than talking about how to manage that distraction. So this brother succumbed, was taken advantage of by the weapons of time, the distraction. He spent more time showing a video of something that was wicked and that was a distraction, not realizing he was promoting the distraction even more so by showing it. Do you not know when we show all these pictures of wickedness and evil under the guise, I just want to make it known so my brother or sister will know. Good intentions are not always righteous actions, my brothers and sisters. Be careful of the pictures you show and what you promote. Understand, my brothers and sisters. In 2 Samuel, I believe it was 2 Samuel, my brothers and sisters, 6th chapter. And you'll read the story of Uzzah, who stretched out his hand to catch the ark because the cart was falling apart. He had good intentions, but Yahuwah killed him, took his life. He didn't know it was going to be to that extreme. Or go to Numbers. I believe it's the 16th chapter. where you read about Dathan, Korah, and Abiram. They and their families and their household and those that thought they were right to challenge the leadership that Yahuwah has established were the victims, or they succumbed to the first, which I believe is the first sinkhole known to man. They didn't have a second chance. They didn't have a rewind button. Beware of storytellers that are taking you off with weapons that cause you to waste time, waste energy, in some cases waste resources. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, time, weapons. Be advised, the timing of our actions will prove to be critical during these last days. Some of us will miss the car, the truck, the bus, the train, the plane that's moving us from one point to the next as we gradually start gathering closer to one another. And I believe I will be a contributor to the gathering of Yashar'al in the Western Hemisphere before crossing the Atlantic Ocean, headed to the Promised Land, which borders from the east at Euphrates River and from the west at the Great Nile. The Promised Land is greater than this little sliver of land that people will have you believe the country of Israel. The Promised Land is much larger. And this is where we will be gathered from the four corners of the earth, my brothers and sisters. This is where we will be in wait of the physical return of Yahusha. And the one world government will see their failure. And after the two witnesses of Revelation are resurrected, it will be a time when they are starting to march towards the camp of Yashar'al, where the anti-Mashiach want to step within the living temple, the camp of Yashar'al, to try to say he's who we're waiting for. Be advised, O Yashar'al, knowing what weapons of defense, offense, and identifying narratives and weapons that distract us, that get us off focus. Read the 4th chapter of Proverbs. I share it often, which talk about focus and establishing your footsteps. 4th chapter of Proverbs. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. These are critical times. Stay tuned, my brothers and sisters. There's much instruction. There will be warnings. There will be guidance. The Almighty Father will make known those whom he has anointed to present the things that are necessary to fulfill his promises to us, O Yashar'al. Believe me. Better yet, believe what the scriptures say as they are made alive. My prayer for you, for me, for the body of the set-apart family of Yashar'al, is that we grow in discerning the voice of the Spirit of Yahusha, the Spirit of the Almighty Father Yahuwah that comes in Yahusha's name. Thank you for your patience, your tolerance, and your pursuit of set-apartness, my brothers and sisters. We will grow to understand the importance of time and how to manage that time correctly. Stay tuned, O Yashar'al. There's much more to come. Things will become clear to the discerning in obedience. The question is, who fits that shoe as a discerning and obedient one? Stay tuned, O Yashar'al. Be encouraged. Trust and believe that the Almighty Father will honor all his promises to us. On that note, I say to you, much shalom, my brother, my sister, my family. Stay encouraged. Shalom.